So this tutorial is going to take you through paper 3, data analysis, which is spreadsheets and website authoring. Now this is the examination that is going to be taking place on the 19th of April. So we do paper 3 before we do paper 2. Paper 2 will be taking place on the 24th of April. So this particular assessment here, we're going to go through, as I said, web design and data analysis, which is spreadsheets. You can be asked to do some basic image editing in Photoshop in this as well, but this particular task, this particular past paper doesn't include that. We're going to be working on our evidence document, our web page, and then we'll go on to our spreadsheet. So I recommend that you print this particular past paper out. You'll find it shared with you on your Plato page as paper 3 practical exam revision for April 19th. There's the zip folder of all of the files you need, and there's the instruction paper. So once you've downloaded the files and you've unpacked it, this is the folder that you'll receive, and you'll be able to see the images will most likely be as thumbnails as they are here. If you want to change the view so you can see the details of the file, as in its file type, then just simply go to the View tab here and go to the Details option. View, Details. And that will show you your list of all of your files with the file types. So, with the file types listed, we'll begin with our first set of instructions, which is to open the evidence file. And the evidence file, M17 evidence, okay, is an RTF file and needs to be saved as a Word document. So I'm going to add my centre number, my name, and my candidate number in the header of this document. And then I'm going to File and I'm going to Save As in our current folder, and I'm going to save it as a Word document with the file name M17 evidence and my centre number, sorry, my candidate number. Save, and that will ensure that this goes into my current file. I already have one of the same name open, so I'm just going to rename it with something different and press save again. There we go, that's fine. Okay, so there's my M17 evidence and it is saved in my current area. I'll just delete the other version, that's fine because I only need one. Okay, so I have a Microsoft Word document, M17 evidence 1, 2, 3, 4. So moving on, my next instruction asks me to set up my folder for my web page. You're told that you work for Hothouse Design and you're going to design web pages for the Goa Elephant Sanctuary. Many of the people who view the web page have very slow internet connection, and so efficient markup must be used. That just means the most efficient markup language, so using the IGCSE to design templates rather than the individual HTML codes for each line wherever possible. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a folder called M17_HTML and move our image files and our CSS file into that folder. So I'm just going to move this over slightly so I have a little bit of room to work here. I'm going to right click on my desktop, new, and folder, and I'm going to call this folder M17_HTML. And in there I'm going to select my background file, background 2, image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, logo, and the CSS file here. Now, if you need to check which files to bring in, just use your instruction booklet. The instruction booklet tells you which files you should be working from. There's the list. And they should be saved in the folder that you've just made, M17HTML. There we go, 12 files in total. Okay, so now I'm going to set up a new Dreamweaver file. And when I open my Dreamweaver, I'm going to go to Site, and I'm going to go to New Site, and I'm going to call this test_site. I'm going to link this site to the file I've just created on my desktop, M17HTML, select folder, and save. Okay, and now all of those files that are saved in my M17 folder are available here. It tells me in my instruction booklet that I should create a new web page called m17ges.htm. So I'm going to go to File and New, and I'm going to create a HTML, which is a new web page. Press Create. Now it's currently unsaved and untitled, so I want to File and Save As, ensuring that it's going into my folder, and I'm going to call it M17 GES. When I press save, that will automatically now appear in my list, m17ges.html. Okay, so using my instruction booklet, it shows me a layout that the web page must follow. It gives me a table layout that has 5 rows and 4 columns, and the widest point of the table is 900 pixels. So I'm going to put my cursor in the page here, which means that it's automatically going to go inside the body part of the code. I know that I'm in design view, not live view, and I'm going to go to Insert and Table. And here I'm going to pick 5 rows and 4 columns. And I'm going to make sure that my table width is set to 900 pixels, because that's what it tells me to do in my instruction booklet. If it gives me cell padding or spacing, then I can change that here as well. Now the border thickness, if I want my border to be visible when I launch the web page, I should have a border thickness of at least 1. This instruction booklet tells me that table borders, the letters and dimensions shown in the table, must not appear on the final web page. So I'm going to set my border thickness to 0, meaning that I'll get the dotted line for the design, but in the actual web page view, I won't be able to see the borders at all. So when I press OK, this is what I end up with. Now, from the design on the paper, I can see that my my row 1 is merged. So I'm going to highlight the cells of row 1 by clicking in the center of this cell and just dragging along. Right click, Table, Merge Cells. And exactly the same for row 2. Right click, Table, Merge Cells. I'm going to leave rows 3 and 4 as they are, but I'm going to merge row 5. If you are struggling to keep up with these, pause the video as you go, but you also need to ensure that you are following the actual instruction booklet. This is what I'm looking at, okay? So I have 5 rows, 4 columns with a 900 pixel width, and I have merged rows 1, 2, and 5. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the height for each row. Row A's height is going to be 200, row B 120, row C 225, row G 100, and row K 60. So let's have a go at that. So first of all, in order to ensure that I'm going to change the height of the right section of the table, I want to put my cursor in the row that I'm going to change the height of. And what happens is in the code, my cursor jumps to that part of the code that that row is written in. So if I change cell now, you'll notice that this cursor here will jump down, because that is referring to a different part of the code. Okay, so let's start with row 1. In row 1, I have 1 column. TD is a column, remember, TR is a row. I have 1 column that has a column span of 4, meaning I merged 4 cells together. So inside that first instruction, TD colspan equals 4, I'm going to put a space and I'm going to type in height equals, and the height for this one will be 200. So now TD colspan 4, height equals 200, and that will change the row height of row 1 to 200 pixels, like so. Let's jump down to row 2, which should be a row height of 120 pixels. So again, straight after the column span, before the closed chevron there, height equals 120 pixels. 200 and 120. The next one, okay, there are 4 cells in this particular row. So I notice that as I put my cursor in one, I don't get the instruction column span, because column span refers to when I've merged the 4 cells together. So I can see here there are simply 4 different cells, TD, 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 and TD. Well, of course, by changing the height of one, I'm also going to change the height of all of them. So I'm just going to set the height of the first one to the required 225. This will cascade and affect all of them, like so. The next row should have a height of 100. So again, I go into the TD, height equals 100. And the last one, the last column here, TD, after the column span, before the closed chevron, height equals, and in this case, it's just a height of 60. So now I have got my table set up with the correct heights for each option. And I know that my widths are correct because I set it when I brought the table in, I set it to 900. And these particular center cells here that have the default setting of 225 pixels, which I know is equal for all 4 columns because it tells me that in the instruction booklet, 225, 225, 225, 225. So that would be 450 and another 450 is 900. So they're equal across. So we will continue with step 2 in the next tutorial.